The Giants don't have one fantasy startable wide receiver. They have two. And I have had Wan'Dale Robinson on my waiver wire column for 2 of the first 3 weeks on Sports Illustrated. And I talk about him all the time on this show. Folks, why the hell are you not picking him up? This guy is available in over 50% of leagues on Sleeper. He's 75% on ESPN and Yahoo. All he does is get targets. Like, he had double-digit catches again last night. He is getting targeted a ton. And Daniel Jones is not playing bad. He's not playing bad football. He hasn't. Malik Nabers might finish as the wide receiver 1 for crying out loud. But Malik Nabers is not the only story. We expected Malik Nabers to be very good. Maybe not this good so soon, but very good. Wan'Dale Robinson is killing it. Wan'Dale Robinson's averaging like 13, 14 points per game right now, and he's available on the waiver wire. He will be the most added player going into week 5. No question about it.
They are a funnel, right? Like, there are some teams that really try to spread the ball around. This is not one of those teams. They are establishing a pattern here where, like, when we throw the ball, these two guys are our priorities to get the ball. And then we'll go off of it if something else happens here. But we're talking about, they threw the ball 40 times. Daniel Jones had 29 completions. Coincidentally, there were 29 targets that went to those two guys. Nabers, 15 targets. Wan'Dale Robinson, 14 targets. You're adding it up 23 catches between those two, and Daniel Jones completed 29 balls. Like, that's a funnel,
love that,
which is good for us in fantasy.
We love
exactly.
It. Yeah, we love it.
When it's super obvious and we know exactly where to go. And so that is the case there.
Sorry, he did suffer a concussion at the end of that game, but they do have like a mini bye, right? Because you've got extended time. So hopefully he's going to be good to go for week 5.
CeeDee Lamb with a big game. Rico Dowdle got a touchdown. So if you played him, which normally is not a good play, I would not suggest that you do that on the reg, but he did get in the end zone, so he at least got you double-digit points.
And Zeke actually had a few decent runs. The backfield is really just bad. I mean, you can't start it. The thing that's going to suck is that when we get into the bye weeks and bye Mageddons, people are going to have to start Cowboys running backs, and it's going to be painful. So very painful.
I hope you played Greg Joseph because that was just like a field goal fest there for the Giants. I mean, 19 fantasy points.
Jake Ferguson was very good. He had 11.9 points. You'll take that. And I think he's going to be a top 5 tight end now the rest of the season if he stays healthy. The big story of the game, I think from a fantasy
not a high bar.
No, it's not. That the Giants wide receivers are both, and obviously Nabers is already knocking on Elite's door, but Wan'Dale Robinson is already knocking on, hey, I'm a flex starter every week in PPR, and he's on the waiver wire. And then obviously the Cowboys beating the Giants again, the 13th straight time for Dak Prescott. The Cowboys certainly own the Giants, but the Cowboys are not a good team. And we got Pittsburgh coming up next. So, and Micah Parsons got hurt in that game too. So
many ways to play fantasy football. Like, daily fantasy sports is another way. If your, redraft leagues are not doing so great and you want to get in on the action some other way, are you one of the over 5 million active members on Prize Picks, which is the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America, Michael Fabiano? It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you do is take 2 to 6 players, look at their stat projections, decide whether or not you think they're going to score more or less on any given. Maybe it's receptions, maybe it's yards, whatever it is. And then just watch the winnings roll in. Jen Piacenti joins us every Wednesday and Friday. She gives us a few different people whose numbers she likes. Maybe you could have taken her advice about Greg Dortch last week, which was, his receiving number was like around 29.5. If you had gone more, that would have hit. And so there you go. Yep. They're giving you one, Fabs. Just like a free square.
I know. Caleb Williams passing yards. All he has to do is get one on Prize Picks, and that is every week in September. Just so you know, you guys know I'm not a big fan of Caleb Williams in fantasy, but he did have 363 of those yards.
That's more than one.
So they are giving you a little bit of a layup here over at Prize Picks because they want you to join the platform and they want you to win. So you get a winner right there with Caleb Williams right off the bat.
Okay, so that's one. If you get as few as 4 correct picks, you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks. So download the Prize Picks app today and use the code FANTASYDIRT you'll get $50 instantly when you play $5. That is code FANTASYDIRT on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. That is PrizePicks. Run your game. Let's get to this week's injuries. Starting with a guy we've all known we're not going to see him this week, and that is Christian McCaffrey. But we do have an update. Kyle Shanahan giving us some updates late in the week, saying that Christian McCaffrey, probably going to turn it up here in the next couple of weeks, says that they're going to start testing it out here sooner rather than later. You can hear that, which he said on the radio, and you can think, oh, that's a good sign. Okay, then there was this. He's back in the United States from Germany. The goal is to get the Achilles tendonitis to quiet down. Hasn't happened yet then. And then they can build him up in a smart, thoughtful way. I hear those sentences put together, and I want to do bad things, because that just makes me feel like my number one overall pick isn't coming back anytime soon. So, I mean, read between the lines however you want, but that's what the latest on Christian McCaffrey and this year's number one overall pick. As for this week's games, we do have a little bit of good news about the Niners that we'll get to in just a second. First of all, the quarterbacks, Jordan Love was limited on Thursday, was also limited on Wednesday. So we'll see what that looks like. We'll get a final injury update a little bit later on the day today. So you might have more information than we do at this very moment. By the time you're listening to this, Justin Herbert also limited with that high ankle sprain in Thursday's practice. Don't have a Friday update for you. We do have a Friday update for you on Joe Mixon, pivoting to the running back position. He was on the practice field Friday, so we don't know how involved he was, but he did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. I am not really expecting to see him on Sunday at this point, but, we'll see. Dameon Pierce did not practice on Friday, so it looks like that's going in the wrong direction. Had a little bit of reports earlier in the week that sounded positive, and then nothing has transpired that was actually positive. So maybe that'll be Cam Akers again, my favorite running back, she says sarcastically. Bijan Robinson, limited participant on Thursday with the shoulder injury. Ken Walker, limited on Thursday with that oblique. Alvin Kamara, limited on Thursday. Jerome Ford, limited on Thursday. Raheem Mostert, limited on Thursday. Jaylen Warren did not practice on Thursday. That could be a good sign for Najee, who has a pretty good matchup. The Steelers do anyway against Indianapolis, and that might come up a little bit later on when we're talking about one and done or not. Wide receivers, A.J. Brown hasn't practiced for a couple of weeks. You guys know that. Ian Rappaport says that he's unlikely to play this weekend. He was, however, seen on the field on Friday, stretching with the team and preparing to practice. So we'll see how much he's able to get in, but that might just be them kind of starting to ramp him up to get back in and have nothing to do with this week. Devontae Smith, concussion protocol, not seen at practice Friday, not expected to play this weekend. Tank Dell did not practice on Friday, hasn't practiced all week, not expected to play against the Jaguars. Deebo Samuel, limited on Thursday. Devontae Adams, limited on Thursday. Chris Godwin, limited on Thursday. Mike Evans, limited on Thursday. God, that's a lot of big names that are limited. Nico Collins, limited on Thursday, was present for practice on Friday. That's a hamstring. They need him on the field. This is a smash spot against the Jaguars, and so fingers crossed that he's available to go. Deontay Johnson was added to the injury report on Thursday, Fabs, with a groin. Did not practice on Thursday. You guys know, obviously, there's a lot of, and we should talk about that for you, buddy, down there in Florida with the storm. But he said that the field conditions were so poor that he stayed out to be safe and protect himself. So
He was limited on Friday, and he's questionable.
damn it. Oh, really cutting into my ability to put together a good lineup. God. Anyway, okay. Because otherwise, Deontay against the Bengals, I like that. I like it. Please be healthy. Keenan Allen, limited on Thursday. Roma Dunze, limited on Thursday. Holy heck, that's good news for the Bears, she says sarcastically. Jordan Addison, limited on Thursday. Those are your wide receivers as of right now. Tight ends, if you've got Trey McBride, at least we know early, take him out. Against the Commanders, you do not have him. He's still in concussion protocol. David Njoku also out again against the Raiders with an ankle injury. Evan Ingram is listed as doubtful, or is going to be listed as doubtful against the Texans. Coach says it's unlikely that we're going to see him, but next week looks promising. So find a replacement for Evan Ingram. Also, are you going to have to find a replacement for Sam Laporta? He has a low ankle sprain. He did not practice Thursday. Remember, they don't play till Monday, so everything is bumped a week. The Thursday practice is like a Wednesday practice, so they'll have a real practice today on Friday. That's their normal Thursday practice, so monitor that. George Kittle.
Well, he did return to practice on Friday, so that's
okay.
That's a good sign. Yes.
Well, we'll see if he's limited, but at least he's out there. That is a good sign. You're right. George Kittle, limited on Thursday, says he's feeling fantastic and he's very excited to play football. And so all signs point to him
Good,
getting back on the
because I
field this
need
week.
him.
Thank God,
I
please.
can't play Colby Parkinson again. Oh, it's killing me.
I swear. A few other injury updates that I think are worth passing along because while they are not fantasy assets, they affect fantasy assets. Lane Johnson, huge for the Eagles, right? Especially with those two wide receivers out and looking at pass protection for Jalen and then also for Saquon Barkley. Lane Johnson has been in concussion protocol. He was, however, spotted at Eagles practice today, dressed out as if he was going to practice maybe with the helmet. And so we'll be keeping an eye on what actually happened and what his status for Sunday's game is. The Browns offensive line is a disaster. I don't have good news to pass along. Jedrick Wills and Jack Conklin, their left tackle and their right tackle, both ruled out. So I don't like anything.
You need a break? Wait, that's a lot of injuries that you just had to go through.